So I did a little more looking, a little more searching. And what appears to have happened, at least by police comment, was that the police had, apparently he was a person of interest. The police had a pocket warrant. Now, again, this is the state of Texas, which may be very well, more than likely is different than several other states. Each states have their little subtle differences in terms of how they do and enact certain things. So a pocket warrant for an arrest. And basically, it's different than what you would call an arrest warrant. An arrest warrant authorizes a law enforcement person or officer to bring an individual in to be, let's say, to start their adjudication through the criminal justice system. Whereas a pocket warrant is different. Pocket warrant authorizes the officer to bring a person in for the sole, and I emphasize the word sole, S-O-L-E, purpose of questioning the individual. Now, what you all need to know about something like this is this. In a situation like that, even where there's an arrest warrant, you are under no obligation at all to say anything at all to the police. Of course, you can ask for an attorney, but you're not obligated to do much more than that. So how this thing plays out, there's no indication as to, I haven't read anything that says specifically that Nwobodo said this, that, or the other. Apparently there was some degree of conversation with him. They found a necessity to seize, take away, to seize the phone, to seize the car. And the reason I believe the car was seized, other than what they said, was because of what was found in the car. At a traffic stop, in order to search a person's car, there has to be some evidence of a criminal activity. To stop a car to an extent where you're actually looking into the car, outside of a person authorizing you to look in the car. And he knows what he has in his car. There's no way in hell he's going to authorize the police to look in his car. He's not going to authorize the police to use his phone either. Common sense. Common sense. The dumbest person in the world knows better than that. So where does this whole thing go? Where am I headed with this? It just made me understand that this was not an ordinary traffic stop. When I saw the information about the pocket warrant arrest, then it was a little clearer to me exactly what was going on. But here's what's important that you need to know. When it comes to that cell phone and when it comes to that car, there has to be probable cause to seize either. You cannot just indiscriminately take either away from a person, in particular a person not charged with a particular crime. So how does this kind of unfold? This is stuff, again, that you need to know. There's exception to that. And of course, when you do it, you must have a warrant, a search warrant specifically. So how did the police manage to do what they did? Well, and I looked at some of the laws in Texas, and I'm sure they apply in other states as well. Not all, but some other states. Well, there's the imminence of indigent circumstances. One of or a situation, let's say, where if the vehicle or the item is not seized at a particular point, the likelihood of the person destroying the evidence is highly probable. That's one of the exceptions that comes into play. Another would be in the event of a concern over, these are not the specific words, but I'm generalizing to make it easy to understand as opposed to going into heavy legal jargon. So the imminence of the danger to an individual. And in this particular case, information seized quickly because it may be the difference between how soon the police may or may not be able to save a person. And in her particular case, it's initially believed sex trafficking. So that's a very imminent and dangerous place to be. Any number of things could happen to an individual in that process. Those are examples of, let's say, these circumstances from which the police may take the actions as noted in the reports by the media. Now, in looking at that, there's another date. There's another date. And that date is June the 9th. June the 9th, 2022. That's when charges was filed in the court. Murder and tampering with evidence. Those were the charges filed in the court against the now at large Chukwuebuka Nwobodo, 28-year-old Nigerian man. So what I want you to do is you're going to look at 513. This is when the seizure takes place. Well, what was disclosed in the seizure? In the cell phone, what they found were photos. These were photos of some dead bodies. I don't remember the specific count. One of the dead bodies was was chopped up, and it was a female body. It hasn't been determined that it was Ms. Johnson's body, but in fact, a female body. What also was found was during this April 16th, day of the presumptive incident, and 17th, there were searches, April 30th, another, some days afterwards. The key is this, not so much, well, the timing in that these things happen after the fact. That's the main thing associated with the timing. But with the searches that were made, Google searches, they were associated with whether or not vinegar, bleach, maybe some other items were effective in removing DNA, removing blood, how to be a serial killer, how not to get caught, just an array of things, whether or not the police can track information on, let's say, a victim's cell phone, some other matters as well. Certainly very incriminating information. And I mentioned prior what was found in the vehicle. Well, they also managed to get a search warrant for the apartment, the one he had currently been living in at the time of the incident. And there they found blood throughout if I remember correctly, the bathroom, the bedroom, may have been one or more other areas. And they have strong support that the blood is that of young Miss Johnson. So the reason I mentioned 5/13/22 date and 6/9/22. On 5/13, he was subsequently released. The subject was subsequently released. So many would say, what, are you kidding? You had this information and you let this person go? Well, the fact of the matter is the police did not have the information, at least not the way they were supposed to have it. Those search warrants were critical. The absence, and I can't say this enough, the absence of the search warrants would have created, let's say when they do catch up with this 28-year-old man and he goes through the system, you don't need the brightest attorney for this. This will be virtually an automatic suppression of the information seized because there was no search warrant authorizing the search of that personal information. Seizure is one thing, but then when you go to that point where you're actually ascertaining personal information on that phone, you must have a warrant. And of course, that goes without saying as far as this car is concerned. You can't simply seize the car and just automatically start rumbling through the car. You have to have a search warrant. Same is true of his home. You have to have a search warrant. And clearly, that's what the police did. Kudos. Kudos. Police got off to a kind of slow start, as the family felt. But they're coming through, and that's a good thing. And that may have a lot to do with the YouTubers and the media and more people getting engaged and talking about these matters. You see, sometimes you know what they say about the squeaky wheel. I'm trying to remember it myself. The squeaky wheel gets the. Some of you know, but at the end of the day, what I'm trying to express is the significance of you sharing these videos. You're sharing information. It's not just about the video. You're sharing information. And the information is important and can help people in God knows how many ways. So getting back to a lot of the information that's found, that information put forward by the police, and of course this is done through the prosecutor, and that brought forth the charges. Now we have a situation. Now he's at large. He's on the run. We have a situation where Mr. Nwobodo is being sought for the purpose of being arrested and placed through the criminal justice system to answer the allegations against him. Now, in this case, those allegations are based on very good evidence. Some of it's circumstantial. And when I say circumstantial, let me just help you with this. The mere fact that, let's say, a dead body is found on a person's phone, that in and of itself, without any sort of corroborating information and or evidence, is not enough to come to the conclusion that that person was the one who actually caused the death, or that that death was literally a homicide, meaning the end of a life caused by another individual. Person could have been dead for any other reason, could have just plain dropped dead. So this is something you need to understand. People who aren't familiar with how the practices of law go will take things like that for granted. So those of you who know, good for you, bless you. For those of you who don't, this is an awakening. You pass this on to someone else who may not be familiar. At this point, what I want to do is let you know how you can help. How you can, whoa, I'm not, whoa, slow your roll. Slow down, my people, slow down. Don't get me wrong. Please don't get me wrong. What I'm saying to you is this. Oftentimes we want to help. We're trying to figure out how we can do it. And so I'm going to give you some of that information. First and foremost, don't don't even think about putting yourself in harm's way. Why? Not necessary. Not necessary at all. Not necessary at all. There are ways that you can help. One would be, let's say for example's sake, you see an individual that you believe looks like this person. And keep in mind, at this point, who knows? He's probably tried to disguise himself. Maybe he shaved his beard off. Maybe put some hair on his head. Any number of things. So what do? First and foremost, make sure you are a considerable distance away from the individual. When I say considerable, I mean considerable. Considerable enough that you can actually walk away instead of having to run away. Considerable distance. And here's what can be done if you want to be helpful. Everybody and their kid brother, their mama, their papa, their grandpa, their grandma are taking selfies. It's an everyday occurrence. And so what happens is you may be uncertain. You take the selfie. Of course, you make your adjustments. You make your adjustments on the selfie that will bring the picture in closer. That will give you a better idea of whether or not you think it is the individual. Then you take the picture. You don't have to use the flash. You can turn your flash off. Not necessary. You take the picture, you see. And then what you do afterwards, just in case some degree of suspicion is aroused, what you want to be able to do is take another selfie. To be even more convincing, someone passing by, ask them if they would take a picture of you. Okay, you have that information. Get in your car, go about your way, bring that information to the attention of the police, and they will direct you from there. And you will have done a very, very good thing. And if I'm not mistaken, there's still a reward. There's still a reward out for this 28-year-old man being brought into the justice system. So that's something to consider. But again, your safety is what's most important. Another thing, if you are near, like you might be on a bus, might be on a train, see someone that looks like him. Don't do what a lot of people do. Oh my God. They will stare you down. That's an accident waiting to happen. You don't want to do that. All you need to do is just make notes. And let me tell you how this works out for you. You just make note. I saw someone that looked like so-and-so on such and such bus at such and such time. And the bus was, at the time I saw him, the bus was at such and such intersection. So some of you like, well, how are they going to find anything from that? I'm going to tell you. A lot of the buses have cameras. Those cameras will show everybody on the bus. The different positions of the bus, the front of the bus, the back of the bus, the middle of the bus, the side of the bus. The police will look at that information. And don't forget, the FBI is involved now. Talk about databases. My God. Great access. They can look at different people on the bus, maybe somebody next to him. They could run what would be a picture database, link this person up. Now, that's not always what happens, but that's a possibility. Link that person up with someone who may have a record of some sort in the system one way or another. Link that person to him. Next thing you know, they make a visit to where that person presumably lives. Who walks out? Who walks out? The person sought to be arrested. Yes, something as simple as that. That's how these things work, the investigative process. That's how they work. Now, another thing I would suggest, if you see the person and they're in front of a store that you know that they've just come out of, make note of the store address. You don't have to do it right then and there. You can wait till he's long gone. Make note of the store address. How can that be helpful? I'll tell you. The police get that information. They go in. They look for video footage. The video footage may confirm that that in fact was him. They're going to talk to the proprietor of the store. The proprietor of the store may note something in particular that he purchased, depending on how he purchased that. That may one way or another be a lead. If nothing else, they know that he is at the very, 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 very least in the vicinity. Important information. You wouldn't think of it, but that's the investigative process. That's how this thing works. And most importantly, you are safe. You are safe. That's the real importance. So I'd like to say to you, dream with purpose, act with intent. Share these videos for the common good. For the common good. Ring the notification bell. Hit up, smash up, poke a hole in the likes. I'm joking. Terrible sense of humor. I try. I'm corny as I want to be. But hey, I am who I am, right? As we all are. Remember to subscribe. Stay safe.